saying that. So yeah, great. We have to let go of the guilt. We have to let go of our shame. It's impossible. Believe you me, this is an impossible challenge. Hashem promised Avraham Avinu he would live to Seva Toiva, to a good old age. And the only person in the history of Klal Yisrael we know that every single day of his was measured and valuable was Avraham Avinu. He was Bo Bayomim every single day. And today we're living off Avraham Avinu's days. And Hashem took 5 years. My maths is not that good, but 5 times 365 is a nice amount of days. He lost 5 years of his life, so he shouldn't see his grandson going off the derech. This is an impossible challenge. I know Mike making a joke out of it. This is no joke. And the first thing we tell parents, you've got to protect yourselves. You've got to get time out. At least twice a day, you've got to go on holiday just to relax, to get your keiches back. If we don't give ourselves the petrol we need, we're not going to have the keiches to go through this. It's not a joking matter. I'm just like trying to have comic relief. But there's nobody here who thinks this is a joke. We're walking around with a tremendous amount of guilt, a tremendous amount of shame, a tremendous amount of rejection, right, which is the flip side of love. We feel rejects by society. What? I mean, you've got a child like that? I thought that you were from her. I thought that you understood how to be chinuch. Oh, you're a teacher? And your child's like that. I'm not sending my son to your school. And things like that. It's like, yeah, I chose this and, I've really worked this out and all this kid should go off the derech. We feel rejected. We feel failures. Because any successful parent doesn't have this. It only happens to parents who are failures, right? Welcome to the club. So we walk around feeling rejected, feeling failures, feeling guilt, feeling shame, where the truth is that all that's happened is that Hashem has given us a gift, and a very challenging one. The Gemara says that matonis, right? Matonis always come with Yisurim. It's a Gemara Brachos. Matonis come with Yisurim. This is a gift. These children and parents who have been through this say, our Shlom Bayis got healed and got stronger from it. Our connection to Hashem got stronger because of it. It's a gift. We don't understand why Hashem put us through this. A chosen, when he's standing there by the oif we chuck things at him, and it's sometimes like a oif this week. Poor fellow, his hat certainly didn't survive. We're stoning him. What's the message? We're trying to tell him sometimes you're going to get stones thrown at you. If you open it up carefully, you'll see inside, somewhere deep down, there's a sweet in there. But it hurts. We have to realize this is a journey. And we're going to get to the end of our journey successfully. In Mitzvah Shem, you'll see Yiddish and Nachas from all of them. They'll get married, Kedas Moshe Yisrael, they'll be fine. But we have to play this right. I would almost say we chose this. Right? The Sforim write, the Mekubalim, 500 years ago, in one of the Sforim, the Shar Yoira and Shar Hey, those who want to look it up. Before we were born, we knew everything we were going to go through. Hakril, Bakril, Mikril, Kol, everything. We knew who we were going to marry, believe it or not. We knew who our children are going to be, our spouses, our parents, our kids, our children-in-law, our neighbours, everything. We're going to put the whole video in front of us and say, you see this? This is what you're heading towards. Are you okay with it? Now, to our muzzle, up there we understand it all. Up there everything's clear. So we said, yeah, sure. This is what we want. And we come down here and from the say we have seichel, we're complaining. So we don't understand anything. But we have to know, number one, once upon a time we did. Number two, there's someone who still does. And that's the Rabbeinu Shalom. And number three, there will come a time that we will understand where the good in this was. Not now, but there will come a time. It's going to come a time where it's going to make sense. Today, it doesn't make sense. Does it have to? It doesn't have to. So when your neighbours are looking at you thinking that you're who knows what, and they're complaining about the music, do you not know it's already 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock in the evening, my children try and see, what's this blaring music? I can't even call it music. The 9 days noch. Well, and then we get all you called no, you called chaval. No, it's called people there. No, chaval. No. We have to tell our neighbors, I give you a bracha, you should never know what we're going through. Just tell that to your neighbors and say, would you like to switch places? Do you want to come into my house just for one day to see the way I'm treating my child? Do you want to try that? Do you think I chose this? Invite your neighbors in and say, right, come inside. This is a Shabbos table. I didn't realize because of all the iPhones. But say that this is a Shabbos table, and yes, we don't say Dvar Torahs because we want our child to be from one day. So we're not saying Dvar Torahs. We don't sing Zmiris because it doesn't go with the right rhythm. They've got their own style. And yes, Baruch Hashem, this is a beautiful Jewish home. I'm doing what Hashem wants me to do. You want to change? Tell the neighbors if you want to help. Instead of making me feel bad as a neighbor for something that's not my fault, do you realize that my child is your neighbor? And do you realize that while he was wearing a couple with a seret, how do you say, with a ribbon, then he was okay for you. And you said hello to him, good Shabbos. And now, just because the ribbon's gone, or the couple's gone, or both have gone, and suddenly you don't know him, do you know how many kids will come to me saying, I know exactly when my neighbor crosses the road to avoid me? They can see it like hawk's eyes at the other side of the street. They can see it. Everybody's avoiding them either because they think it's Makabel Tumah, or because they don't want to have the, what? That's right, it's something like a Matzera, don't come anywhere near. Tell the neighbors, where are you? Explain it to your neighbors. Make them feel nice and bad. Don't worry, they're not feeling as bad as we are. Explain it to them. Tell them, do you think we chose this, Rebbeinu Shleilim? Do you realize that the person who hurt my child might have hurt your child as well? Do you realize that this might happen it can happen to anybody? Do you think we were the ones that hurt our children? It's 1 in a million that the parents are the problem. 1 in a million. Children are resilient to their parents, however crazy their parents are. Children are resilient. It's very, very rare that a child goes off the derech because of something their parents are. Children are just made that way. They know these are my parents and they deal with it. People watching sometimes think, well, I wouldn't be able to be a child of that parent. Tachlis, children are okay with their parents. Okay, more or less, but they survive it. It's not normally what breaks them. We are not the problem, but we are the solution. And we have to be the solution. If it means giving your child whatever he asks for. I know it's very unpopular, but Gedolei Yisrael have told me, you can see it in the Kuntrus word for word. Right? Whatever he asks for and a little bit more, say yes with a smile. Say it costs you some money? No, it's a small price to pay. We've had parents who have moved away from where they lived. Why? Because the Rebbe that hurt them lives down the street. So it would make sense for the Rebbe to have to go away. But that makes too much sense. So we have to move away. We have to realize if the perpetrator, whoever it is, I'm not suggesting any specific or single type of trauma, but if the person who's causing the pain is living there in the neighborhood, he's going to have a hard time getting back on track. Not because you're doing something wrong, but he's still in the lion's den. He's got to be able to get away. As a basic introduction, I think we've covered the grounds. I'll add one point, on a practical point. And I was actually asked to mention this by a teacher here in Manchester. It's bad enough that we have too many therapists who say, I don't know if they think it's ethically correct, or I don't know what it is, but they say, we deal with a child, we don't deal with the parents. And there's nothing as ridiculous than that in the world, because if you deal with a child without the parents, you've lost the plot. Because if you're not dealing with the parents, then the parents are causing more damage. They weren't the cause of the problem. But if he's coming home because he was late from his therapist, and he's getting, chinuch, then everything the therapist did has gone out the window. The Rosh Yeshiva told me, he wants me to come. His yeshiva was in a mess, he wanted me to come and save his yeshiva. So I said to him, okay. I said to him, I think it should be on my terms, because I won't be able to help you otherwise. But he said to me, come on Sundays. Come on Sundays. I said, why do you want me to come on Sundays? Made in England, Sunday is like a choshev day. But in Chutzlah, in Eretz Yisrael, he said to me, because when they go in for Shabbos, it's always goy gu mogig, it's a world war, every Shabbos. So they come back. It's a shiva for what we call these challenged teenagers. He says when they come back Sunday, they always come back tzrudelt and like messed up. So they need somebody on board just every Sunday to retain them. So I said to him, Rosh Shiva, I've got a good idea. I'll come on Sundays. I think we should have a parents, what's called PTA or parent. Let's have a Sifat Horim. I'm not sure what they call it here. A parents' evening, fathers and mothers. Let's all come together. Let's put everything on the table. Let's explain to the parents that even though they're not the problem, but they have a problem, what they can do to help the problem. And then the parents at home, things will calm down, and I'll be able to work with the boys on the next Sunday, and hopefully the following Sunday I'll be able to continue where I left off the previous Sunday and not go back to where I started the previous Sunday. And this Hashiva tells me, I deal with Bochrim, not with parents. So I left. I said, you're making mistakes quicker than I can fix them. And I left, and that was that. So it's bad enough that therapists are not sensible enough to realize, I know that there's a law and you have to privacy and all that. I'm on camera here, so I can't talk about what I think the Torah thinks about the law. But only do what works, tachlis. But what I'm talking to parents is, you're going through a challenge. The schools, even though often the schools are causing damage, often, unfortunately, too often, if they're not the main cause, but they're definitely contributing to the levels of love and respect plummeting down. But the schools are not out to be bad. They didn't open a school to hurt kids. They mean well and they try hard and they're doing their best. But what we can do to help them and to help our own children, be Meshatef Pula, tell the school, go into the school and tell them we're having a hard time with a child in your school and we're getting guidance from whoever you're getting guidance from, and it was suggested that we should do this, and if the school do this. Again, I'm talking just generally because you have to speak one-to-one and to get the guidance that you need for your child. And sometimes the school, one has to work with the school, sometimes it doesn't help. But either way, speak to the school. Tell the school, we have this issue. This is what you can do as a school, as a teacher, as a principal. This is what you can do to make my child feel better. If you can just give him a mark on his test for his efforts and not for his results, you'll save his life. Because if you mark him for his results and not his effort, then I have a problem. I answered the phone on Yom Tov once. Because when I have one of the boys I'm working with and he calls me 3 times consecutively, I'll answer the phone. It's Bikuach Nefesh. And I only had that once. And he called me up on Yom Tov because he just got his report card on Erev Yom Tov and he was going to commit suicide on Neil Yom Tov. So what was his problem? He got 70 in his exams. So, okay, I never got 70 when I was your age. So he says, what do you mean? I worked so hard. If after all the effort I put in, I get 60 or 70 or 90 in that, I'm dumping it. I'm not dropping everything. I told him, take out a pen, the Tipex, is that what they call it here? Tipex. I said, Tipex the 70 on Yom Tov, Tipex it out. I said, how much do you get for effort? He said, 100. I said, write in 100. Yeah, write in 100. Next, his whole report card was 100. I said, and now make sure when you go home tonight, tell your parents to sign it, and if the headmaster, whoever it is in the school, has a problem, give them my number. And it saved his life. Today he's learning in a good yeshiva and he's doing fine. And what was the end of the story? That I get a phone call, a Motzi Yom Tov, from these distraught parents saying, I don't understand, what's in my child? He called me up 10 times, he tried to call me up on Yom Tov, on my phone. You think I answered? I didn't answer him. I said, you've got muzzle that I did. Because otherwise you'd be inviting me to Levaya. There's so much schools can do. What does it cost you to mark the child for something that's going to make him feel good? I remember when I was a child, the only thing I remember about my report cards, I remember I worked out my kishkas, and it was very hard for me because I wasn't used to working with chlal and remarks. I never got anything, you know. In the end, he wrote, very well behaved, and something must have been a chiddush then, because I realized I was all chuffed. And then, no room for complacency. Now that was a word much longer than I could understand. So I asked somebody afterwards, what does the word, I asked my parents, what does the word complacency mean? Right? They said it means you tried hard, but don't think so good about yourself. There's plenty of room still to go, and make sure you don't fall back. It took all the air out of my brain. I remember what I felt that day. I said, you already gave me a compliment, why did you have to add those 3 words? What did you try and do? You tried to break me, you managed. And Baruch Hashem, because of that, I can help so many others who are getting those report cards. But we're not here talking to schools. The teachers are going to hear this Mitzvah next week. What we have to do is we have to join up with the school and tell the school. And sometimes when there's an older sibling who's not in school, and younger siblings, for all of us know, there's one challenged teenager, this is a family project, and there's lots of other siblings that may be in pain and are all going through their challenges. Don't think it's easy to have an older or younger brother or sister going through this. It's not. My parents said, I can't come to your house because your son is a shaigat, your brother is like a goy, and your sister's got friends. I can't come to your house anymore. And that's what these kids are contending with. It's a trauma in its own right. Now, it's not clear we can avoid it. We can be there for them. We have to be there for all the kids. But at least tell the school, do you realize that this child is contending with a sibling who's taking us all on a ride? They should be understanding. They should go over to the child and say, I know you're not having an easy time. We're very proud of you. You're doing so well. Be there for the child. If you don't tell the school what you're going through at home, how should they know? And if they don't know, then they will just be doing what they always do, rightly or wrongly, but they'll be doing what they always do and hurting our children. They're hurt enough. So be in touch with the schools. Make sure you're in touch with all the people working with this child. You should all be on the same page. And then hopefully, if you've got good people along the way, then they'll all be out of their mess quite soon. And I would encourage you to, this is a launch, this is a start of a weekly or bi-weekly, I don't know, we're going to have to speak to the organisers how to arrange it, but you need each other's chizuk. Whether I'm going to be there on Skype or not on Skype every week or not, it still has to be decided, but none of you should be giving each other guidance, but you should be giving each other chizuk and support. No one is at a place, or almost no one I would say, to decide what the other one needs. What you have to do. Do you have to buy the child an iPhone? Do you not have to buy the child an iPhone? That's not something any of you can decide for anyone else. But you can give each other chizuk. And you're all going through different things. Some of you are going through very mild things. Others are going through tremendous gehenna in the house. And none of you know what anyone else is going. But give each other chizuk, because we're all in the same boat. And nobody knows what's going up and down. Tell your neighbour, I walked down Upper Park or Water Park Road or Leicester Road with my daughter dressed whatever, like Adam Rishon Koydem Achet, and with their dog, and you should know she asked me if I was embarrassed of her, and I says, what do you mean, embarrassed of you? Who cares what everyone else think? I'm so happy to be walking down the road with you. Tell that to the other person sitting next to you in the room, and say that after that, my daughter started picking up. There was one mother who told her daughter, it wasn't me, told her daughter, you need Siyat Ishmael for this, he said to the daughter, was like, Mama's dressed like Adam Rishon Koydem Achet, and it was, anyone who's been there knows it's not easy. And the mother told the daughter, when you were born, you were wearing nothing, and I loved you to bits, and nothing's changed. So you need to be completely twisted to say something like that. But Tachlis is that's the message we're giving them. That's the message we're giving them. And by the way, the more extreme things you do with them, the more points you'll score with them. If you go into them dafka, and I can say that on my own skin, I did that once with one of mine. I went to anyone who knows what Kiryat Sefer is knows what Kiryat Sefer is, and I did exactly that. And I was waiting for that question, are you not embarrassed? Baruch Hashem, it came, it didn't take too long, and I said what I said, and after that I saw things started changing. They'll take you right, they want to see that you love them more, and they know exactly what, walking down the street with these chevra, they know exactly what, they feel bad enough themselves, but think, okay, I'm crazy anyway, I'm an outcast anyway, poor parents, because you look like normal people, right? And if you do that, I mean, it's called taking the daggers out. It's like, do extreme things to make an extreme point, and then you have an extreme solution to an extreme problem. Yeah.